I don't think we should ever accept that in golf. I think golf should be held to a higher standard than what was seen out there this week.
The Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black was billed as electric, and it was, but for all the wrong reasons. The golf almost faded into the background as one shocking moment in the crowd shifted the entire tone of the weekend. Players snapped, captains condemned, and Rory McIlroy himself was forced to step into the storm. What exactly went down, and why has it rattled golf's soul? Let's get into it.
When you've got police dogs and the police coming in, were you aware when that was happening? And have you ever seen anything quite like that on a golf course before when you've been playing?
Wish they had to let the dogs off the leashes.
The weekend flipped in a single jolting moment. Midway through Saturday's four-ball, with Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry grinding to hold Europe's lead, a blur flew from the gallery. The cameras caught it, a plastic beer cup, spinning through the late afternoon sun, colliding with the brim of Erica Stoll's hat as she stood alongside the ropes. She flinched, startled, the nearby crowd audibly gasping. It wasn't a hospital-level injury, but it was enough. Enough to rattle the families, enough to send shockwaves through the players, and enough to ignite the fury of a man who usually never breaks composure. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Broadcasters rewound, slowed it down, zoomed in. The narrative was no longer Europe's steady march toward the cup. It was this: a wife struck in the supposed cathedral of golf. Rory's immediate response said everything. His jaw tight, eyes locked on the stands, words spat with rare venom. The Ryder Cup had transformed from a sporting classic into a public referendum on crowd behavior. Teammates Shane Lowry and Tyrrell Hatton fumed on camera, while European captain Luke Donald called it crossing a line. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram flooded with the replay, hashtags like trending within hours. Suddenly, the victory didn't matter. The conversation was about whether the fans had ruined the tournament's legacy, and the image of Erica, wide-eyed in shock, became the defining snapshot of Bethpage, a moment that cracked golf's gentlemanly facade wide open. "15 seconds. That's all it took for the Ryder Cup to flip from spectacle to scandal. The footage, a shaky but damning camera angle, shows the cup leaving the gallery, arcing above the rope line, and bouncing off near Erica McIlroy's head as Rory and Shane Lowry walked off the green. The sound mix made it worse. A drunken chant in the background, then silence, then a ripple of commotion as Erica touched her head, visibly rattled. The moment wasn't a brutal assault, but it was visible, undeniable, and impossible to spin. That's why it detonated online. Players had been hinting all week that the heckling was escalating. Jeers timed at backswings, taunts aimed at families, shouts of "miss it," drowning out concentration. The clip provided proof. This wasn't passion. It was a breach of the unwritten code that golf pretends to uphold. Debates raged within hours. Was it intentional or just a careless toss? Was it aimed at Rory or simply thrown in drunken celebration? None of that mattered. What mattered was optics. A family member hit at one of golf's most prestigious events. Broadcast teams replayed the arc in slow motion, pausing on Erica's startled expression, while social media memified it into the Bethpage throw. By nightfall, it was everywhere. Sports talk shows led with it. Commentators demanded ejections and alcohol bans. Fans debated whether the cup had turned toxic. For an event built on tradition and respect, Bethpage now had a new legacy: the viral scandal where a 15-second clip overshadowed a week of golf. Be honest, was that crowd just showing passion, or did they completely cross the line? Drop your take below, because this one has golf fans divided.
I don't think we should ever accept that in golf.
When Rory McIlroy finally addressed the chaos, his words cut sharper than any drive off the tee. In the press room, his voice was steady, but the anger underneath simmered like lava. This was unacceptable, it was abusive, and it cannot happen again. He began by thanking the majority of fans, the ones who cheered without crossing the line, but he didn't stop there. He called out the minority who jeered, heckled, and ultimately threw a drink at his wife. A line had been crossed, and Rory wasn't about to let it slide. He admitted that even he had snapped back at times, uncharacteristically chirping at fans who timed shouts to disrupt his swing. For a player celebrated for composure, that admission spoke volumes. Erica, he reassured, was fine, shaken but composed. But his larger point was clear. Once families are involved, the game loses its soul. There's passion, Rory said, and then there's abuse. We all know the difference. Clips of his comments flooded sports feeds, replayed in highlight packages, plastered across ESPN and Sky Sports. Analysts latched onto his tone, calm but seething, diplomatic yet damning. Rory wasn't just defending his wife, he was defending the sport's reputation. He warned that without stricter stewarding and accountability, golf risked devolving into a circus. By the end of his remarks, one thing was obvious. Rory had become the de facto voice of reason in a week defined by chaos. And if the Ryder Cup is ever forced to clean up its act, it will be because one of the game's biggest stars decided enough was enough. The beer toss wasn't an isolated eruption. It was the boiling point of a weekend where the crowd went rogue. European players from Shane Lowry to Victor Hovland to Tyrrell Hatton admitted afterward that the heckling had become relentless. "I've never seen anything like it," Hatton said, shaking his head. Captain Luke Donald, usually measured to the point of dullness, spoke with rare edge. "Players' families are off limits. This behavior is not acceptable." On the ground, the optics told the story. Security was everywhere. State troopers patrolling rope lines, K9 units sniffing through entrances, stewards huddled at hotspots. Yet none of it stopped the barrage of slurs, chants, and, in some cases, flying drinks. The American side tried to frame the chaos as part of Ryder Cup tradition, partisan, passionate, edgy. But when slow-motion replays showed Rory McIlroy ducking a cup and police visibly escorting fans out, the boys will be boys defense collapsed. That's what made Bethpage feel like a rupture. Golf isn't football, it isn't basketball. It clings to an aura of etiquette. But here, the line blurred, and the Ryder Cup looked more like a frat house than a fairway. For European players, the tension was palpable. Should they celebrate the win or condemn the atmosphere? Most did both. And for Rory, the answer was even simpler. You can't call it tradition when families are targeted. At Bethpage, the roar of the crowd turned from fuel to fire. Once the clip of the cup hitting Erica surfaced, the media machine went into overdrive. ESPN debated it. Sky Sports replayed it. Golf Digest broke down the trajectory like it was the Zapruder film. And Twitter? Twitter was a riot. Fans split into camps, one side claiming it was just rowdy fun, the other declaring Bethpage a disgrace. Memes sprouted instantly, freeze frames of Erica with captions like "The Real MVP" and "Bethpage's Bullseye." Pundits couldn't agree. Some argued that the Ryder Cup thrives on chaos, that partisan galleries are part of its DNA, and that a few bad fans shouldn't overshadow decades of history. Others said the visual of a player's wife being hit was a scandal that golf couldn't brush off. "This isn't football," one commentator declared. "This is supposed to be golf, and golf has rules." Sponsors noticed too. Reports circulated that hospitality partners privately expressed concern about brand safety. Broadcasters warned tournament officials that coverage risked drifting from sport to scandal if safeguards weren't tightened. And when sponsors start sweating, action usually follows. Social media only fanned the flames. Hashtags like and trended. Instagram reels replayed Rory's fiery comments alongside the slow-motion beer toss. TikTok creators stitched Rory's press conference into viral rants about American fans gone wild. The outrage became bigger than golf. It became a cultural story, and once that happens, no one's in control. Now comes the aftermath, and the fallout will not be small. Tournament officials, from the PGA of America to Ryder Cup committees, immediately promised a full review of stewarding, alcohol sales, and ejection policies. Behind the scenes, discussions of tightening booze restrictions and installing more cameras were already underway. The video evidence is damning, and once the proof lives online forever, there's no burying it. European players have already made it clear, they'll never forget Bethpage. Several vowed to raise fan conduct standards when the Cup returns to Europe at Adair Manor in 2027. The subtext is obvious. If the US can't control its crowds, Europe will. Meanwhile, American organizers are under intense scrutiny. The next home cup will be under a microscope, every shout and every chant dissected for toxicity. For Rory and Erica, the moment will stick too. While Rory tried to celebrate Europe's win, his post-match tone was unmistakable. Gratitude for respectful fans, fury at the abusers, and determination to protect families going forward. Erica, for her part, remained composed, but her startled reaction is now cemented in highlight reels, the human face of Bethpage's chaos. The legacy is clear. This Ryder Cup won't be remembered for Viktor Hovland's putts or Rory's leadership. It will be remembered as the one where the gallery made the headlines, the one where tradition collided with toxicity, the one where golf's genteel mask cracked wide open. Bethpage will forever be remembered for a flying cup, not a winning putt. Do you think this scandal ruined the Ryder Cup's legacy, or just exposed what was already bubbling under the surface? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives.